This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Welcome to Community Close-Up. I'm your host, Sharen Skelly, and today's guest is Carolyn Abbott. And Carolyn is from the United Way and the Financial Literacy Program. Welcome, Caroline.
Thank you very much, Sharon.
It's a timely program, having financial literacy as our topic of conversation. We just finished up with the holidays, and I'm sure many of us tended to perhaps not intentionally overspend, but it does happen. And not only that, we're going into the second year of the pandemic, and that has certainly affected families and individuals, people that own businesses, people that work. Their work hours may have been affected, that sort of thing. And generally, just people, a lot of people in the area are affected by, their wages may not be the greatest. We have a lot of minimum wage earners, people that don't make the greatest wages. We don't have a lot of high-tech jobs available. We don't have a lot of industry. So money isn't, our earnings aren't the greatest here. So financial literacy is something that we would welcome a little bit of help with today. So Carolyn, what can you tell us about what you've learned over the past 2 years dealing with pandemic issues? Have you learned anything? Has there been a trend?
Oh, yeah. The confusion, all of the confusion around the benefits from the government to help people through are changing constantly. The rules around if you're eligible, if you're not, it's very unclear. Things have to be clarified by the government, things they didn't think of, impacts they didn't think of, have hit people, and then they're playing catch up a lot. It's really frustrating for people. It's really overwhelming for people. And part of the reason that I'm working with United Way for this program is because of the start of COVID and the confusion around the COVID benefits. The financial literacy program at the United Way was run for many, many years by a wonderful woman named Holly Devlin. And she retired, and then the program was sort of in flux for a little while. And then COVID hit, and there was so much confusion. And they said, this is an absolute need. And I came on board about 2 years ago. So that's when I started, and it's been confusing the whole time. And hard because people's hours are being cut. People don't know what they're going to be making. Being able to plan for the future, being able to cover your current costs and your future costs with all of the not knowing what's going to happen is really stressful. And finances are already a stressful topic for people. So it just adds this other layer on top of that.
And there's a sort of a level of shame that goes along with being in debt, and people don't want to talk about it, when certainly that's something you should talk about.
Absolutely. And I'm learning, I've got a small child, so I'm learning about talking to small children about finances as well. Is really important to teach the younger generation. So what I usually do with people right now, I'm just meeting people over the phone or over Zoom or over any sort of virtual platform. I have a budget template that I use. We talk through a budget together. We talk about your monthly expenses, your income, your assets, the things you own, and your debts. And that gives me a view of your whole overall financial situation. And then from there, we talk about what are your financial goals, and then what is the plan? What are the programs that might be available that you're eligible for to lower expenses? Are you getting all the income you're eligible for? If not, how can I help support you to get that income, like Canada Child Benefit or your guaranteed income supplement for seniors? What assets do you have available, and what are the different ways you can use them to help your financial situation? And also, what are your debts? And debts are heavy. They are a heavy burden for people. So I work with people on what is the plan for your situation. And then when it does come to debts, we talk about your different options. People will say, I don't want to go bankrupt. You don't have to go bankrupt. What bankruptcy is the last option? What are the other options before that? Or is that your best option in your situation? Totally depends on people's overall situation, which is why we work on that budget together, because it helps us have a conversation about all of the different ways that finances impact your life. And then with debts, if it's beyond my capacity, or if I think that a insolvency trustee or a credit counseling organization would be good next steps for you, I have direct connections with Credit Canada and with an insolvency trustee, and we work together to make sure you've got local support with meeting basic needs, and then the experts on debt are there to help support you through those processes as well.
Mm-hmm. Did you find, though, that throughout the pandemic you were seeing a different set of people, or like younger or older? Was it the demographic was different?
So I wasn't in this role pre-COVID, so I'm not sure what Holly was experiencing. Yeah. But at different times during the pandemic.
Well, during the pandemic.
Yeah, it was different people at different times, because
I guess
for seniors, in July, late July, seniors who would have been receiving guaranteed income supplement previously, who also got COVID benefits, all of a sudden, a lot of them were having their guaranteed income supplement cut. So they were going from maybe having $1,600 a month down to $900, $1,000. So at that time, it was a lot of seniors coming to work with me. At other times, it's been families with CCB, with Canada Child Benefit, or in December, it was people that were losing their jobs because they weren't vaccinated. And then they were losing their jobs. And then what were their options? Because they may have had a good paying job and they worked their budget around that, and now they don't. So what are their options? And a big piece of the program is compassion and realistic options.
Right.
Things happen in life. There's a lot of shame around debt, as you said. There's a lot of pressure on people to pull themselves up by their own bootstraps, but you can only do that if you've got boots. And a lot of people have had those things taken away. Things happen. This is nothing anyone could have planned for, really. So it's really about being compassionate and being realistic. If there's a program out there, I will do the research for you and help you try and get connected. Or if there's a strategy, we'll talk through a strategy together and really focus on what's realistic, because there's no point in anyone applying for something or trying to do something and spinning their wheels.
And at the beginning, the government initiated all these programs. I know a few people. I mean, I read the qualifications and I said to people, yeah, certainly. I mean, I'm not an uneducated person, and I read these things and I said, by all means, you really do qualify for this. And they would apply, and they would, because the government was handing out the money quickly. They wanted people to be, safe and healthy and whatever, and not go to work. And then the next thing you know, they've received the money. They're going along, as if, yes, I qualified. And then the next thing they get a letter saying you owe us all this money back. How are people coping with that?
That debt is heavy. Debt with the government is also very heavy for people. But the government is actually one of the most one of the creditors that you can owe, and they will work with you on a plan. They are really open to working with you on a plan to get the money back. But it's quite overwhelming trying to work through the processes. Sometimes I will call CRA, Canada Revenue Agency, and do a three-way call with clients, or call Service Canada and do a three-way call with clients, because working with the government can be really intimidating and people don't know what to ask, whereas I talk to them 2 or 3 times a week. So
You're
I'm
on a
able,
basis with them.
that's right. I'm able to support people through that process in a three-way call, and try and get to what is the next step. Okay,
Right.
after that, what do we have to do after that? But no, and it's really scary to owe. And then to do your taxes, people are very afraid to do their taxes, because if they owe the government, they're not going to get money back, or they're fearful that the government's going to take all of their income. Doing your taxes, whether you owe the government or not, is really important, because there are different benefits and credits you can get access to only by doing your taxes. And the government has rules within itself on how much of your benefits it's going to take. So doing your taxes is really important, but I know it's also very, very scary. So it's coming up to tax season. We've got, for those individuals who are living on less than $35,000 a year, and that's for an individual. For families or groups of people within a family, there are different numbers. That's just sort of the ballpark. They can access the community volunteer income tax programs. These are free tax clinics. They are run by local and hosted by local organizations throughout Grey and Bruce counties. They are free. The volunteers are trained every year by CRA, by the Canadian Revenue Agency, to help keep as much money in your pocket as possible. In January and sometimes throughout February, those programs are shut down because they're doing their training for March and April for tax time. But you can always apply or schedule a spot. Usually starting in February, you can schedule a spot for March and April to get your taxes done. Over the last 2 years, talking about the pandemic and its impacts, a lot of those tax programs didn't know how to run during the pandemic. So a lot of them had to really be really creative about how to run. Some of them were unable to run. Some of them worked really hard last year on running. And probably this year, they'll have to do some of the same things they did last year. Some of the things they did were, instead of face-to-face clinics, they would have phone calls and drop off documents at a specific place, or pick up documents depending on the organization. And then they would have a phone call with their volunteer and the person, the individual that they were doing their taxes, so that it was like a safe, because of COVID, it was a safe thing.
Good
the
idea.
Volunteer had the documents. They were able to confirm things with you over the phone, and then they were able to file for you. So a lot of the organizations were really creative. That information and how things are going to run is always being updated, but usually in February, the different tax clinics will come out and tell the community how they're going to run. Best place to go is call 211. 211 is a free service over the phone. It's free. It's 24 hours a day. They will connect you with local programs, social service programs. That is the free volunteer income tax clinics. That's also food banks. That's the financial literacy program. That's utility support programs. 211 is a great place to go to get connected to all of those different social programs.
Yes, 211 is just everything to everybody, and it really is. And when you call 211, someone actually talks to you.
Yeah.
It's you think, did I call the wrong number? Someone's actually talking to me. So yes, it is good. And you mentioned in there the utilities program. We could talk about that for a little bit. What is the utilities program for people that aren't aware of it?
Yeah, so there's a few different utility support programs for different people living on a low income. There's the Ontario Energy Support Program, the OESP, and that's a monthly credit that goes directly on your hydro bill to help lower that bill. So there is income eligibility, and I'm not conversant totally in those, but calling 211 or Googling OESP, you'll find out if your income is within that. Some people will look at their hydro bill and they'll say the Ontario Energy rebate. That's different. If you're getting the rebate, definitely apply for the Ontario Energy Support Program, because you may be eligible for even more of a credit on your hydro bill. If you're in arrears, so that's for money that you're going to be owing for your monthly bill. If you're in arrears, so you owe hydro or you owe Union Gas or Enbridge Gas, you can apply for the Low Income Energy Assistance Program, the LEAP program. And if you're living on a low income, you may be eligible up to $500 per year, and that's a calendar year. So that's January through to December. So if someone applied for LEAP last year and received the $500 to pay down their hydro debt or their gas debt, they can apply again starting in January. But you can only access it once a year. So there's that program. The United Way also does have an energy program for heating, and that's for wood, propane, or oil. So if you are, again, living on a low income, you may be eligible for up to $700 a year, and that's July to June, because we want to make sure that people have the heat, available over the winter. And that's wood, propane, oil, and you can call 211 to apply for that. 211 is a good place. They do a lot of intakes for the United Way, which is really great. And then we've got a wonderful woman at the United Way named Karen who processes all of those applications.
So it really does help people because utilities are obviously necessary, but you need to be warm and you need to run your household, but they are very expensive. And add that onto rent, which is incredibly high in every area. You can't just say this area, because all you have to do is look and it's high everywhere. But you have to look at the amount of income that we make here to the rents, and it just doesn't match up. You just can't. I know for myself, we are multi-generational living in this household. So I live with my two kids, my son and daughter-in-law, and we're all living and sharing one big house. So it's working for us, but I don't know if I could live in a house by myself. It's just too expensive. So I guess people have to be creative. But if you add utilities onto that, plus the cost of food, it's going up to eat healthy. And then that's why food bank use is going up. It's frustrating. It's disheartening. And people need communication, so they need a phone. It's not a luxury. And internet for children, now they're remote learning. It's not a luxury either. So they need a computer. And that's where libraries come in, but you can't expect children to be at the library all the time. They need to be at home, and they need the support of whoever's helping them, be it a parent, a guardian, whomever. So there's so many connecting factors. So they need money, and it's not poor budgeting sometimes, it's just lack of income.
No, and that's what we're seeing a lot of, is just there's not enough. The people will think that it's budgeting. You are spending your money, irresponsibly. But man, I have clients that just, they're doing everything possible. And it's really disheartening for me to say to them, you are doing everything.
Yes, you're doing your best.
You're already connected to things. You're already, you're already living on the leanest budget that I can imagine. Like there's nothing else that for you to do. And sometimes that is what I say to people. And I hope that that's reassuring to them, that they are really trying their best, but it's also very disheartening that there's not another thing. So
I know.
People are, and the housing, we used to talk about 30% of your income should go towards housing and utilities.
That's funny.
Not a reality. I know if you're living on ODSP, Ontario Disability Support Program, and your income is $1,100 a month, and your place is $1,200, and that's for a 1-bedroom, $1,200 for a month. Like where it's very, very hard. One of the things I really encourage people is, if you even start to stress or have questions about finances, give me a call at the United Way. Please give me a call. You can call the United Way directly at 519-376-1560, 1560-519-376-1560. Or you can call me directly on my work cell phone. You can text me directly on my work cell phone, and that is 519-477. That's not right. Sorry. Check. There it is. Now I've got the right one. 519-378-4773. 519-378-4773. And reach out to me before things happen or when things are stressful. I'm here for you whenever you are ready or whenever you need to talk. But having a plan ahead of time can sometimes make it a bit smoother and a bit more easy of a transition through whatever's going on for you, whatever, because we all have our own stories and we all have our own experiences, and also we have our own skills and assets and creativity. So I'm happy to work with people at any point to work through that.
Yes. And one thing I stress is that we can't be judgmental of other people. If someone's having a rough time and they want to smoke a cigarette, which I'm a nurse and I don't promote smoking, but if that's their vice and that's their stress reliever, let them smoke a cigarette. They spent some money on a cigarette, but if that's what they're doing to get through the day, let them do it. Or if they're going to spend a little bit of money on a cup of coffee and that's what they're doing for their enjoyment, let them do it. We don't know what's going on in their life. If that's their big spend for the week, let them spend, that $2. They maybe saved up for the week, and they said, okay, I got through the week. I'm going to have this cup of coffee at whatever local coffee shop. Let them do it. Don't be judgmental. You don't know what they've gone through. And keep it to your own self, mumble it to yourself. And another thing is, I strongly believe in, my kids laugh. I tip people. I don't have a lot of money, but I've always done it. And I tip people, and I tip them the right amount. I don't insult them by giving a few pennies out of the bottom of my handbag. Tip people when they give you service. And a lot of low-wage earners depend on tips to supplement their income. I know it's not the best way of paying our employees, but tips are a reality. Tip people, and tip them with a smile. Now I know I guess there's some places you can't, but you can always add tips to your debit machine interactions. So remember that, don't be cheap. It's important to me that we do that.
It's so
That's just my
important,
little
Sharon.
rant for the day.
It's so important. And one of the things I do when we do go through that budget together is if you do drink or you have some entertainment, I have an entertainment section, and that section is pretty broad, and I want to make sure that people have it's in the budget. There's a bit of money in the budget for those things, because if we're just living to pay off debt, or we're just living to life is hard. So
it's bleak if you don't treat yourself once in a while.
Yeah. But you know what? The community, our community is a beautiful community. Gray and Bruce are wonderful communities. They support the United Way so much, and it's because of the local support that we're able to run this program, run the utility program, run the backpack program. It's really, I'm so thankful to live here, and the United Way is so thankful for all the support, because like this year I've seen over 300 people to talk about finances. And that is because of the support that we've gotten from the community, whether it's referring people, word of mouth, or financial support. It's a pretty great place to live.
And when after they've seen you, is there a follow-up?
There's a follow-up. They'll receive the budget that we work on. They'll receive the step-by-step, what are the programs, what are the strategies, and then it is up to them. But they can come back at any time, and I'm there to help them through the next step. So I do encourage people you're given the information. I encourage people to take that, and it becomes like a checklist. But then come back and let's talk through whatever hang up or hold up you're experiencing. Let's talk through it.
Do you ever see clients, do they ever come back and say, hey, this is what I did? And
yeah. I like to hear back from them about what they have done. Sometimes people, we worked really hard together and then they went away, and that's great. Go and live your life. Talking to me about your finances is not your goal. But sometimes people will come back, and it's really nice to see, what they did and really how they empowered themselves through reaching out, asking for the information, talking through a really hard subject. Talking about finances is not easy. So they talked through some hard things, and then whatever they've done, and how it has impacted. Sometimes they're little impacts, but my goal is really to help people make their finances a little bit smoother and make the ends get closer together, or hopefully meet at some point. That's the real goal.
And the issue of, do they call them payday loans, or, yeah. Hopefully people go to you before they go to them. That would be
great. And you know what? We talked through all of your available options for credit, because payday loans are an option for accessing credit, but they are the most expensive option in Ontario. They're going to cost you the most, but what are your other options if they're available? So come and talk to me, please. We'll talk through all of your options, not just those.
Yeah, there are options out there to get money low.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
Hi, I'm Cedric Gano, and I'm a center for the Owen Sound Attack. Catch great OHL action on Rogers TV as we bring you Owen Sound Attack games live, both home and away.
What in the world?
Seek.
Have no idea what we're walking into.
Are you an IMC?
Explore.
I feel so insignificant. It's just jaw-dropping.
Take